Hey, so the lighting and angle here isn't going to be that great. Who cares? Also, I just woke up, so I look like shit. I feel like shit. Whatever. Um, we're going to do something a little bit different and a little controversial. Um, but I'm no stranger to that, I suppose. Um, First thing we're going to do is start off with a hypothetical scenario, and I'm going to present that first, and then go back and talk about what got me thinking about it, and more specifically, like the topics that I wanted to kind of, I don't know if bring to attention would be the phrase for it, but, um, get people thinking about. And I want to do the hypothetical first because I don't want people to form an opinion based on like the topic at hand and then try to bring that into the hypothetical. I want to get a clean slate here, fresh start, um, and just have people's genuine reactions before they get into the meat of the video. So in this hypothetical, say you are living in an apartment complex and it's like 11 p.m., something like that, sometime at night, and you're pulling up into the complex. You get your parking spot, and nearby ish on the sidewalk, just standing there looking at his phone and smoking a cigarette or something, is just some guy. You don't know him, you don't know anything about him, total stranger, and he's not doing anything. He's just standing there smoking, looking at his phone. Um, but he gives you a bad vibe. Something about him just makes you feel weird. He seems a little sketchy. I'm gonna reposition here. This is a little uncomfortable. So you see this guy. He's giving you a bad vibe. You get out of your car and you get a little nosy. Um, you start talking to this dude, and it just keeps getting worse. You think he's really fucking sketchy, and he's kind of a dick. And the situation escalates until he calls you a pussy. And he hasn't touched you, he hasn't come towards you, he hasn't produced a weapon or anything, but because he called you a pussy, you pull out a gun and shoot him and kill him. Now, of course, immediately you're like, whoa, that went off the rails really fast. It did. And of course, this is murder. I think we all recognize that. Um, Being insulted by someone who is sketchy and a dick is not justification to shoot somebody. And so you're going to go to prison for murder. Now, say that, as the investigation into the incident is ongoing, they uncover that the dude had a woman kidnapped in his home and they found her, thankfully, alive. But if they hadn't found her at the time, say that, you never had your incident, who knows if she would have been alive. So, in a roundabout way, the fact that you killed this dude kind of saved that woman's life. They're still going to put you away for murder because you didn't know that. You were not acting in defense of this woman because you had no fucking idea that she was there. You killed the guy because he felt insulted and you didn't like him. So that's still murder. Is it a good thing that that guy's dead? Oh, absolutely. Um, Judging by the fact that he had a kidnapped woman in his house, yeah, he probably should have been dead, and the world is probably better off. But at the same time, again, you didn't know that, and so it's probably a good thing that you're going to be put away too, because you probably don't belong on the streets. Um, I feel like this is still relatively uncontroversial so far. Um, so I bring up this hypothetical to talk about the idea of not thought crime, but future crime, as in crimes that have not been committed yet. And are you guilty of a crime that you haven't done yet? That nobody knows about because it hasn't happened yet. Because the ability to see into the future hasn't been invented. um, and the reason I bring this up is a video I saw. It was body cam footage from Arkansas. This dude was just walking down the street in the middle of the night with like a grocery bag, like he had just been at the gas station and bought some snacks or something. Bought them, didn't steal them, as far as I know. Um, and a police officer was just patrolling because this area that the guy was in was considered a high narcotics area or something along those lines. And so he just randomly decided to stop this fucking dude that was, as far as he knew, doing nothing because the officer was not out on a specific call. Certainly not one about that guy. He was just patrolling because it was a high narcotics area or whatever. Sorry about the stuttering. I can't talk for shit. I might have a very mild speech impediment. Anyways, he decides to approach this guy and start talking to him. And the guy doesn't want to talk to the cop. Um, the cop is not very receptive to the fact that the dude doesn't want to talk to him. He says, "I smell marijuana," and he goes to tackle this dude who starts running. When he tackles him, the guy pulls out a gun and shoots the cop in the leg, and the cop shoots the guy twice, and one of those shots hit him in the head and killed him on the spot. So, I'm going to say this right off the bat. If a guy tries to shoot you, whether you're a cop or not, you're well within your right to shoot him back. I don't have a problem with that part. But the problem I have is, why was this dude chased and tackled? Because he didn't want to talk to the officer. Um, as far as I'm aware, if you are not suspected of committing a crime, have not actively committed a crime, there's no calls on the radio about somebody matching your description, none of that. You're just walking down the street with a grocery bag at night. I feel like you're well within your right to not want to fuck with talking to a cop if you don't feel like it. But that was not the case. And I think there's going to be a discussion about like the cop saying that he smelled marijuana, whether he did or didn't, because that's something I have a huge problem with, is the idea that a cop saying I smell weed is taken as probable cause to then temporarily detain you at least and search you and your car if you're in a car or whatever. And I have a huge problem with that. Because I get that, yeah, weed is illegal in most states still, whatever. In Arkansas, this guy had a medical card, and he wasn't driving a car or something, so it's not like he was, operating while intoxicated or something. He had a medicinal card and he was walking. Um, so that shouldn't have been a problem either, but the fact of the matter is, the whole "I smell weed" thing has zero burden of proof. Um, the thing is, if a cop decides that they want to search you and their shit, you and your shit, um, they can say that whether they smell it or not. Like, if you do not have any weed on you or in your car, you have not recently smoked any weed, they can still say that. And what are you going to do about it? You have no recourse for that. Because if you say, like, no, you don't, there's no weed smell, I don't have any, I haven't smoked any, they're going to say, yeah, sure, that's what they all say, pal, get out of the fucking car. Like, as soon as that comes up, you're done, whether you have anything or not. And that does not sit right with me. It shouldn't be that easy and simple and consequence free to basically suspend somebody's right to refuse a search and just pull probable cause right out of your ass. Um, it's just way too flimsy and subjective, and like I said, there's no real like burden of proof for that. If they search you and they find nothing, they test you and you're not high, probably the best that's going to happen is they're going to be like, "Oh, my bad, I guess you can go," after you've already been fucking arrested and all your shit searched and you tested and everything. You might get some kind of a charge. They might eventually fucking admit that they fucked up and let you go. You may even be able to sue them, but I don't feel like you're going to have a good chance of A, winning the civil suit, and B, getting much out of it. So it's kind of a consequence-free way for them to say, actually, your civil rights don't apply because I don't want them to, when they say I smell weed. It does not sit right with me. I feel like they need to be able to produce some proof that there was actually some weed somewhere, or that you had recently smoked it, or else they should face some kind of consequence for just pulling that out of their ass. Or better yet, we should just drop the fucking weed prohibition and have it be like booze, where if you're caught driving while high, yeah, you fucked up, but simply having it is not a problem. I would prefer that. But anyways, so the discussion, the part of the discussion that's bothering me the most is people saying, well, he tried to shoot a cop. Of course the cop stopped him. And it's like, that happened after the stop. The decision to stop him had already been made. He was not being stopped because he tried to shoot a cop. He tried to shoot the cop after he got stopped. Now, I'm not saying that the guy wasn't a piece of shit, because all signs point to the fact that he probably was. It's probably a good thing he's off the streets. He probably had nothing but ill intentions in his mind. Um, so I don't feel too bad about that, but it never would have happened if his rights weren't kind of being violated. Um, it was just a bad stop because there was nothing. Like, it's not like the dude was driving with his lights off or no seatbelt or anything like that. It's not like a call had come in describing, like a roughly 6 footish Caucasian male in a hoodie, shoplifting or whatever. There was nothing, nothing at all. And it turned into being tackled to the ground, and then he tried to shoot the fucking cop. And it's just, I feel like all of that could have been avoided. What would he have done with his freedom if he hadn't been bothered by the cop? Probably nothing good. Yeah, absolutely. But again, we're getting into a dangerous precedent here, where the idea that you might do something in the future being used as justification for you to be arrested now, I don't think that's the precedent we want to set. I don't think that's the kind of power we want the authorities to have. Personally, I mean, maybe you just love government overreach, but that seems really authoritarian to me, and dangerous as fuck. Uh, and that's pretty much that's what I wanted to talk about. Is this idea of future crime, thought crime, all kinds of shit. Very Minority Report in that. I mean, another factor, for example, they were talking about his record. Apparently, I'm not sure if this is the case. Don't quote me on this. Don't take this as fact. But the guy supposedly was a felon and he had a gun, which is not. If you have a felony in the U.S., you're not supposed to have a gun, not unless like you get your record expunged or something. But that takes years, and not all felonies are eligible to be expunged and your rights restored. Um, so he was, yeah, prohibited possessing as he walked. But again, the cop had no way of knowing that. He hadn't even identified the guy, so he had no access to his record. So that, again, is not a reason to stop him, because the decision to make a stop has to be based on the facts that are available at the time. You can't find shit out later and say, oh, okay, that was why I stopped him. No, it wasn't, because you didn't fucking know until afterwards. Um, and that's why I had that hypothetical. If you didn't know about the kidnapped woman, then shooting that guy was not done for any kind of altruism. You just did it because you didn't fucking like him, and that makes you a murderer. And it's that's the idea of this future crime thing, where it's like, oh, well, this guy was a bad guy, which the cop didn't know, and he was going to try to shoot the cop after he got tackled, which the cop didn't know. He can't see into the future. It's not like police cruisers have a fucking magic 8 ball in them that tells you, oh yeah, this guy's gonna try to shoot you if you try to arrest him, so you should try to arrest him. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I feel like there are certain people who seem to want to give every inch of power to the armaments of the government that they possibly can. And yet they're the same people who will be like waving Gadsden flags and like the fucking Mulan Lave shit, like come and take it. And yet, like, again, like, did you get the wrong fucking lesson from Minority Report? Like, what is going on here that these people are so confused about the nature of authority and the role of law enforcement versus our rights? Like, I don't get it. it comes off really strange to me. Um, I feel like there's more that I want to say, but I can't think of it right now. I might just cut here and then come back in as soon as I figure out what the fuck. I'm sorry. Like I said, I just woke up and I was like watching this and thinking about it yesterday. And I'm a very disorganized person, so it's not like I'm sitting here with bullet points or whatever. So if I have more to say, I'll be right back. If I don't, then this is going to be the end of the video. So I'll see you later or in a couple seconds. I suppose I've pretty much said everything I meant to. Um, I guess I would just close with a few little sound bites in that marijuana prohibition as it exists in the US is fucking stupid. Um, the for profit prison industry creates a financial incentive to lock up as many people as possible for as long as possible. And of course, we know that there is a racial and economic disparity in who gets targeted for that. The way police department funding is handled kind of does the same thing, in which more arrests means more funding. So it becomes kind of a reward to arrest more people. The way that tickets and fines and such are revenue generators for the state, same situation. I think there's a lot of room for reform to be had here. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but in this sector in particular, um, I can only imagine. It's not like it's something that I've looked into, but I would be curious to know just how it works in that the companies running these private prisons, um, just how much money they make off of that arrangement, and also their lobbying. I can only imagine, you know, it stands to reason. Like I said, I haven't looked into any of this. Don't take this as fact, but look into it yourself. I definitely need to after I post this. Um, if some of these corporations are lobbying for stricter laws just so that they can get more people in their prisons to feed them slop and make them work for 20 something cents an hour. And the companies that, like the textile companies or the food companies that supply these prisons, I think Cisco is one of them, maybe GFS, how much money they're making off the arrangement, if they have any any fingers on the pulse of legislation regarding, again, marijuana prohibition or other things like that. Harsher sentencing probably seems like something that they would want. Um, yeah, I feel like our freedom, our security, our rights are kind of being compromised by the prison industry and the effects that that whole system and the flow of revenue in general holds over the criminal justice system in this country. Um, and some cops really are, a lot of cops really are fucking crooked. And I know that there are some that really feel like they're doing the right thing. They really feel like they're protecting their community. And in some cases, they are. But I think there's a lot of cases in which they aren't, whether they're aware of that or not. And I'm less interested in targeting individual cops as much as the system as a whole because it runs all the way to the top. There's a lot of outside influences that are not police, but still have an effect on what the police do and why. Um, yeah, it's a whole fucked up thing. Nothing is ever easy, and there's never an easy solution. Everything is shades of gray, and it's very frustrating. And I feel like a lot of people, especially some of the comments I've read regarding this specific incident that I saw that led me to think about these things, I feel like a lot of people are way oversimplifying it and kind of picking sides based on just like their own sort of general political tendencies instead of actually questioning things as they come to them as much as they want to just adopt an overall worldview and just, take everything that comes along with it instead of thinking for themselves piece by piece. And I'm sure I'm plenty of guilty of that in my own ways. But anyways, I just thought I'd bring it up for people to think about. I'm disabling comments. I already made that decision just because I know that enlightened discussion is not a thing that's going to happen here. Let's be real. This is a very heated topic, a very hot button issue for the country right now. And I just know that people are going to be like political shit flinging over like partisan lines rather than actually thinking too hard. And that's a shame. But go do that somewhere else and not in my comments section. And hopefully, I've planted some seeds of doubt in some people's minds, given them something to mentally chew on. Um, maybe somebody will change their mind, maybe nobody ever will, but I just thought I would put it out there because I feel like it's not really being said, or at least not said in a constructive way. So I'll see you around.